Trudeau claims that Canadians who didn't take a COVID-19 vaccine were fooled. They were fooled, I tell you, by misinformation and disinformation, claiming the vaccines were more dangerous than the virus itself.
I think we can see that disinformation and misinformation impacts several people. There are thousands of Canadians who believed that vaccination was more dangerous than COVID-19 itself. That is an example of people who were affected, sometimes fatally, by disinformation.
Fatally by disinformation. I have to be very careful because we remain on YouTube right now, but to say that the vaccines were even tested for efficacy uh, could be considered misinformation at this point. To have suggested that there were no adverse effects headed towards young working age or fighting age men, as is the case with our military, if they took the Moderna vaccine. I think that's misinformation at this point. When they said that hybrid immunity was the best immunity, I think that might be considered misinformation at this point, depending on where you source your information. These guys were the biggest spreaders of misinformation about vaccination. It was coming from the government. Like, how many times has Justin Trudeau had COVID? Lots? How many times do you think he's been boosted? 4, 5, maybe? Like, it's a lot. And every time you turn around and somebody says a mean word about him, he has to be held to account. He comes down with COVID and lays down on the fainting couch. So how effective is that? I ask you. And Justin Trudeau wants to claim that the vaccine hesitancy came from Russia instead of just people who are like, this seems rushed. I'm not sure if I want to stick this in my body quite yet. Or people who said, well, I already had COVID and I'm fine with the natural immunity and I survived it just fine. And so I'm not going to get that vaccine. That's not Russian disinformation. That's just people making a different medical choice, which used to be perfectly acceptable in this country. However, not anymore.